Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
Dr. Lonnie Luce, Superintendent of the University View Academy, an innovative online charter school, joins us when we return on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Passion, experience, safety. These are what set Arkell Constructors apart as a premier general contractor. At Arkell Constructors, our goal is to exceed our clients' expectations, whether it's commercial, industrial, or facility maintenance. We have the team and processes in place to provide a solution for you. To us, every project is a resume for our future. Arkell Constructors, the solution for your next building project.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
Promoting workplace safety and family wellness. That's our motto at Gulf Coast Occupational Medicine. The Gulf Coast staff is made up of some of the most knowledgeable and hardest working medical professionals in Louisiana. We care about your safety and your bottom line. With 8 convenient locations in the greater Baton Rouge area, our services include injury management, physical exams, medical surveillance, and substance abuse testing. For more information, visit us on the web at gcombr.info and ride the wave to safety.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Very pleased to be joined by my friend, Dr. Lonnie Luce. Lonnie is the superintendent of the University View Academy. Buddy, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. Give us a little background. You've been a successful public educator, professional educator, a successful public school superintendent. Tell us a little more about Lonnie Luce.
Well, I started out teaching here in Baton Rouge, taught several years inner city at Estrema High School, became an assistant principal. Went and worked at LSU to start moving their correspondence courses online. Then I went to Livingston Parish as Director of Technology in Orleans Public Schools. Then went to Greenville, South Carolina for 4 years after I was mobilized to Afghanistan. And then I came back to Louisiana as Superintendent of St. James for 9 years, Superintendent of the Year in 2014. And now this year started as Superintendent in UVA.
University View Academy is an innovative online charter school, and so we're going to get into the specifics of that. Give us an overview. Tell us about it. Tell us about its origins, its history. We're going to get into a lot of detail about the school itself and why it's unique and what makes it so different. But give us the background.
Well, the school started about 6 years ago, and Connections Academy is who was running the school. There's a nonprofit board that we have here in the state, and they decided a year ago that they wanted to move away from having an outside management board run it and hire someone locally to do it. So I came on board a year ago to basically do that, to move us into where we're delivering online education to students here from Louisiana.
Online education, it's very different from the traditional bricks and mortar type school, but before we get into some of those details, you mentioned the Louisiana Connections Academy. You've changed your name recently from Louisiana Connections Academy to University View Academy. Why the name change?
Well, it kind of says what we're doing. Twofold. One is we're no longer run by an outside organization, we're run locally. But number two is we're moving to a place where we want our students to understand where they're going to next. And that's really the big piece of it. They'll see with our dual enrollment programs, our early college, high school program, that we are moving students to the university from our school.
And is that where most of your students are focused, Lonnie? Are they focused on, you know, that post-secondary opportunity that's out there? Give us some thoughts on that.
That is definitely where we're moving. We want our students, by the time they hit 11th grade, to really be on either a community college campus that they're working on a high-wage, high-demand job skill set and a jumpstart skill set, or that they are working and prepared to go for a 4-year university degree.
We're going to get into discussions about charter schools and their value a little bit later, but as I mentioned earlier in the segment, University View Academy is not a traditional bricks and mortar school. It is very different. It's completely online. Explain that concept and how it works to our viewers.
Well, the way that works, and we're actually a K through 12th grade school, so at the elementary level, the parent really needs to be a good learning coach and with the students. But we have certified teachers on the other end. We do live lessons through Adobe Connect where the students actually interact with the teacher and other students. And then as they get older, the parents may not need to be quite as engaged if they really have self-directed, internally motivated students. But it's basically individualized. I don't think there's any average student, and we really take care of some students that are different.
We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go along, but this model requires a learning coach in the home, right? Either a parent or some other sort of tutor that comes in. So it is critically important that that student gets a lot of support. Talk a little bit more about the interaction of that learning coach, both with the student and with your faculty.
Yes, especially elementary is key. If we don't have a parent or a learning coach that is completely engaged, really we're not the right fit for that student. An example, though, of how in some cases parents will team together, we have some students who want to become Olympic gymnasts. So what they're doing at Elite Gymnastics here in Baton Rouge, they have one learning coach that the parents kind of pulled together to do, and they are either in the gym learning content, or they're actually in the gym learning how to do gymnastics.
But it is the flexibility, I suspect, that is intriguing to those sort of parents. If I've got a kid who's on a track to be, let's say, an Olympic gymnast, or in my family's case, I have a niece who is on her way to being a professional golfer. A program like this of really kind of self-study within the home, online, gives those students the kind of flexibility they need to pursue those other dreams.
Oh, definitely. In fact, we actually have a pro golfer that graduated with us about 2 years ago that is doing wonderfully. We also have, for flexibility, we have one family that's traveling the world for 6 months, and the student is still taking their coursework on the cruise ship.
Typical student, now, you know, we think about the traditional school system. We think about 8 to 3 or, 7:30 to 2:30. Those students are in those classes. Your model is really less time-based and more competency-based. Explain the difference there, Lonnie.
Yes, as we move to performance-based, our assessments are performance-based, so it's really what the students learn and not how much time it takes to get there. If someone asks us, we say typically about 6 hours a day, but we're also not locked into the particular schedule or calendar of a regular school district. So if a parent wants to take a field trip and go see a museum, they can do that. Just let us know, and they can do the work at another time.
I want to get into the next segment, into the courses really, and into your faculty and how that interaction works. But one of the things that you were on the radio show a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things we talked about, we got about 30 seconds here. So that flexibility, though, really works for students of different types, right? And it could be a number of reasons. If a student's getting bullied, or if a student's just not comfortable in that traditional academic setting, University View Academy is really the place for them.
Oh, it definitely is. When I've toured the state and talked to people, the parents that will just cry over saying we are the right solution. They didn't have another option at that time. Their student was bullied. We just really meet the needs of those type of kids.
It really is a wonderful option for a lot of different kids. So you go back and you think about, you know, those kids that are focused on sports careers, or they're focused on some other type of career, or they really do better outside the traditional classroom, that they don't have to worry about sitting in that classroom for a specific amount of time. They can do it based on their ability to learn and the speed at which they can comprehend and complete. And that's one of the things that really sets you apart. Let's take a break. We come back. I want to get into your faculty a little bit, how they interact with the students online. We're visiting with Dr. Lonnie Luce. He's the superintendent of University View Academy, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Spadel's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together. Good times or bad. And oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors. They're my customers. They're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
What if I said that whatever good things you build you? And that in this economy, sweat never loses its value. What if I said that there isn't a challenge in the world too great for a craft professional with the right tools, and that the steps that lead from where you are to where you want to be can only be built by you? Build your future at byf.org.
It might be one of the most efficient, most effective methods of communications we've ever used.
For more than 20 years, the TJC Group has been helping companies assess their training needs and to develop programs that improve the effectiveness and productivity of their teams.
Training doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. Let us put our experience and expertise to work for you.
The TJC Group, facilitating solutions for business and industry.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Dr. Lonnie Luce, Superintendent of University View Academy, is our guest. It's an innovative online charter school. Let's talk about your faculty. Different setting, obviously. We talked about it's not traditional bricks and mortar classroom style. They've got to be a little more flexible. They've got to sort of fit a profile to do what they do and coach these students online. Give us some information about that faculty, their qualifications, and I know you're very high on them, right?
Yes, I am. Our faculty are all certified teachers, so we don't have any that are uncertified. But you're right that we look for a different type of teacher. We need a teacher that engages students in different ways, that connects to them, that builds relationships with students, because we really think relationships with students is what really helps us move forward. So we have really good teachers. What we're really moving into is more dual enrollment teachers now for our early college high school program. So most of those have to also be SACS accredited to teach university courses. So we picked up one recently with a PhD in mathematics. So we really have some good faculty at our school.
You know, what's interesting to me about that is if you think about what burns maybe some young teachers out, dealing with discipline in schools, dealing with paperwork and all the sort of things that they have to in a traditional school, at least for the discipline, from a discipline standpoint and class management, you give them a much better option there, don't you?
We really do. I would say, and I know some of my teachers may not like me saying this, but I'll say this, some of them may struggle to be in a regular classroom, but they are great for our particular classroom. And what I mean by that, they might be somewhat like some of our students that happen to be the great academic student that didn't fit real well and was teased, but these teachers know how to meet the needs of the type of kids that we have.
Give us an example, Dr. Luce, of what daily interaction between a student and a teacher in the University View Academy is like. Obviously, the student is online, the teacher is online. How does that interaction work?
Well, the first thing that we do are live lessons, but that's probably only 2 or 3 days a week that the students would have maybe an hour to 3 hours of live lessons. And that's in Adobe Connect, where the teacher sees the students can see each other, and they can talk and interact. Most of it is through phone calls, through email, through chat, through online message boards, all those type of things. So it's really making sure the student is on path. What we're finding is there's actually a lot more interaction with teachers in a virtual environment than there is in a brick and mortar.
They communicate in the way they are already comfortable communicating, right? Through,
yes.
through social media channels, through text messages, through chat. So it's something that the student is already very comfortable with in terms of how they communicate. Another thing I think is interesting about what you're doing is that you really don't have a school district other than the state. Talk a little bit about the fact that this is sort of a statewide program, right?
It is, and we currently have students in 62 of 64 parishes in the state. So we meet the needs of kids from everywhere. We are everywhere. Now, testing is really interesting. We have 19 testing sites that we're currently running with state testing right now. But that's an interesting thing. But we meet the needs of kids in the whole state.
So from a testing standpoint, explain those testing centers a little bit and the purpose there and how that works.
Well, the state requires, we are accredited and we deal with all of the state accountability issues just like any other public school. So all of our kids have to take the state test, the LEAP test, or the EOC test, the ACT, all of those type of things, and we send our teachers around to all these different test centers, and the students are as close to their homes around the whole state.
How do you market your school? I mean, if I'm in a school district, a regular school district, I know that kids that live in that district are the ones that are going to come and enroll in my school. You don't really have any district lines other than the state line. So how do you market University View Academy statewide?
It's really word of mouth like we're doing now, but we do a lot of things. Our best marketing is through ads, like if people do Google search or those type of things. We're finding that the internet is the way that we're sending people to it. So we do some TV, not much, a good bit of radio, but a lot of our best ads are letting people know through word of mouth is the best, but then secondarily is the internet-based ads.
We got about 2 minutes left in this segment, so let's talk a little bit about your course offerings. So if I enroll in the University View Academy, obviously I've got my traditional courses that are available to me. Talk about the traditional courses and maybe some of the things that I can be exposed to that I might not see in a traditional school setting.
Well, in elementary, they'll be able to choose from 2 different completely curriculums. It'll either be Calvert or it'll be Lincoln Learning, and those have different electives, but typically the same regular core subjects that you would take in a regular brick and mortar. But when you get into middle and high school is where it starts changing, that we offer the normal, but we're really pushing kids to take some of their high school courses in middle school, where we set them up to have a lot of opportunities for other electives and for dual enrollment courses when they're in high school.
So you really can accelerate the curriculum as compared to maybe a traditional high school as well. Talk about that a little bit.
Definitely, and what it allows us to do, if we have only 2 kids that want to take a class, you typically in a brick and mortar, you can't do that because you have a teacher dedicated and you can't afford that. We can afford that because the teacher teaches in a different manner. So you can have a teacher with a class of 2 and another class of 100, and you can make those things work. So we're actually able to meet needs of kids in different ways that you can't in a regular environment.
You've talked about the dual enrollment, but talk about that in terms of some of the electives that are available and some of those paths that might be available to your students. We've got about 30 seconds left.
Good. What we do is we say where you live helps us with that, because we typically have made agreements with the whole LCTCS system. So kids can take welding, say if they're down in reserve, they can, wherever they are, they can take
whatever the
course.
Economy in that region is, they can pursue those type of courses to make it more likely that they can participate successfully in the economy. I know that's one of your goals.
Oh, definitely. With high wage, high demand jobs, with Jump Start, wonderful there. And then even four-year universities, we'll send and pay full tuition to go to a four-year university if they have the ACT score.
That's good stuff. Take a break. I want to come back. I want to talk a little bit about your vision for the school, where you see it going, and I also want to talk about charter schools in general and how that whole movement has affected public education in the United States. We're visiting with Dr. Lonnie Luce. He's the superintendent of the University View Academy, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
For over a quarter century, Kelly's has operated with honesty, integrity, and above all, safety. Kelly's features a fleet of quality equipment operated by dedicated, safety-minded employees skilled in land clearing, above-ground right-of-way maintenance, vegetation control, station yard and manned facility maintenance, above-ground pipeline support, and more. Kelly's Industrial Services, where pipeline right-of-way maintenance gets done right.
Passion, experience, safety. These are what set Arkell Constructors apart as a premier general contractor. At Arkell Constructors, our goal is to exceed our clients' expectations, whether it's commercial, industrial, or facility maintenance. We have the team and processes in place to provide a solution for you. To us, every project is a resume for our future. Arkell Constructors, the solution for your next building project.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
What if I said that the American dream is alive and well, and that it exists for anyone willing to build it? That the power of a nation does not reside in its monuments, but in the hearts and minds of those who built them, and that the country's greatest heroes also wear hard hats. In today's America, it's not enough to dream about the future. You have to build it. Build your future at byf.org.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Dr. Lonnie Luce, superintendent of University View Academy, is our guest, an innovative online charter school. So in your environment, you know, it's different. We've talked about that. What makes a student successful? What's the profile of the successful student at University View Academy?
A student that's motivated to learn, we are a great place for that student to be. And at the elementary level, they need to not just be motivated, but have a parent or a learning coach that's really motivated for that student to learn.
One of the things we talked about a couple of weeks ago when you were on the radio show, Lonnie, is that this is not for everybody, right?
No.
I mean, you are looking for a specific sort of student who is motivated, and I suspect that there are times where you may have to have difficult conversations with parents and students who maybe aren't doing so well.
Yes, I would say what we struggled with when I came in and I looked at our population, we do have one group that wants to kind of hide from truancy and not do anything. We're not the school for that student. We're a school for students who do want to learn, and we're a great place for those students.
Yeah, and it is rigorous, it is challenging, and it is focused on the future of learning. Do you believe that this really is where education is going? What are your thoughts on that?
I really do, for at least certain groups of people. I would say certain people learn a lot better in a classroom situation. The social environment is for them. But certain people, this is the right answer. And I think all students need to learn how to do this some, even if it's not the right answer for their full education, because even when they become adults, where do most of us learn? We have to go through professional development courses, and this is where most of our learning takes place.
You know, you think about that model student that you have. I firmly believe that one of the greatest human characteristics a person can possess is curiosity, right? That thirst for knowledge. But it's not just thirst for knowledge, it's thirst for lifelong learning. And you really are establishing for these students the habits that they need to do that, right?
Yes, and it's not just the want to, but then the grit and the perseverance. So when they get hit with a rigorous course, some students haven't really been challenged in their educational career so far. And when we challenge them, do they have the grit or the perseverance to do what it takes to move on?
What are your overall thoughts on the charter school movement? Obviously, you know, the education establishment has been opposed to charter schools a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about some legal challenges that the charter school movement in Louisiana has seen. But overall, I think that the results are positive, right? If you think about what's happened in the city of New Orleans and the transformation of the education system there, you're a guy who's on the inside. You've been a public school superintendent. You're now superintendent of an online charter school. Talk about that movement and where you see it going.
Well, I think what needs to happen is the two groups need to work together. It's not us against them. It's how do we meet the needs of all kids. And I think what we quickly find out is in some traditional schools, they're very good at teaching the average kid, but they may struggle with those kids that aren't average. And I think today there's a lot of kids that are not average. So either at the top end, at the bottom end, kids even in the middle that have different needs,
learning
pro
styles,
golf,
right.
all those type of things, that we really fit the needs and take care of some students that really don't get their needs met in a regular place. So I think they ought to enjoy us and we should work together.
I think the word that comes to mind is you can be a really good complement to one another, right? That
Yes.
they can meet some needs that you might not necessarily be able to meet, and you can meet some needs that they might not necessarily be able to meet. But charter schools have been challenged. You've talked about this lawsuit out there that's been filed over the funding of charter schools like yours. Talk a little bit about the status of that.
Well, and that's dealing with can we receive MFP funding. We won at the district court, lost at the appellate court, and now it's at the state Supreme Court. So our thoughts are we'll win at the state Supreme Court. If we don't, then the state needs to find a different pot of money to fund the Type 2 charters. But we really believe we're meeting the needs of kids. I have about 2,300 students in our school. There's over 13,000 in Type 2 charters in the state. So I think it's something the state needs to be committed to, and even if constitutionally the MFP isn't the right way to fund it, we need to find out how to fund it.
You talk about 13,000 students in those charter schools, and in most of those cases, parents are making a specific decision to move their children there, and they're voting with what works. We'll watch that very closely and see how it goes. Give us your vision for University View Academy, Lonnie. Where's it headed? Where do you want it to be?
Well, I want us to continue to grow where we meet the needs of all the kids that really have these different types of needs that we serve. And I really see that we move to a place where we challenge other school districts, especially with the early college program, that students anywhere can take dual enrollment courses for free in free public schools, and that they all have the same opportunity.
It really is something that I've been intrigued by. You're doing good work there. I know that you're focused on constant improvement, though, as well. Give us 10 seconds on that.
Yeah, with constant improvement, we want to see our test scores rise as well. So we're currently a C, and we plan on being an A down the road. Keep
working it, right? Yeah. If our viewers want more information about University View Academy, what can they do?
Go to our website, www.universityview.academy is the best place.
And they can find all the information they need there for this very innovative, very different, very forward-thinking online charter school. It's good stuff. Dr. Lonnie Luce, we're gonna watch this closely. Maybe we'll have you back on the show sometime soon. But keep up the good work you're doing, man. I'll be watching.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Good.
That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Hey guys, be sure to check out our new LBIS website, www.louisianabusinessandindustryshow.com.